The occupation is seen as a male-dominated area, but a closer look at Ghana's fishery aquaculture sector reveals that women play a huge role in making fishing economic engine of Ghana's coastal areas. This is the Ghanaian Farmer. My name is Enyenam. Today we are all the way in the Volta region in a farm called Flow Cell to have a conversation with two experts in the area of aquaculture to talk to us about their support, their contribution to farmers and fish farms to scale up, and how do their existence in your farm also help. Why should we encourage women to venture into this occupation? I'm going for a quick breather. When I come back, I'll be engaging Sedem and Esther to talk to them more about this area. I'm seated in between two beautiful ladies who find themselves in a male-dominated sector. On my left is Sophia Edem, or Sedem, Sophia Sedem, and on my right is Esther Enim. Sophia, thanks for joining me.
You're welcome.
Happy International Women's Day.
Same to you.
And Madam Esther, happy International Women's Day.
Same to you, my dear.
Right, so before we delve into the aquaculture, I want to know about your educational background and how you found yourself in this line or area of work. Now take me through your university days. What did you study and how come you specialize in aquaculture?
Okay, so I have a bachelor's in science degree in natural resources management, and in my second year I specialize in fisheries and watershed management. So I interned at a farm at Aquaculture, and during my internship, I noticed that most of the farmers that engage in fish farming were closing up shop, were closing their businesses. So I wanted to understand why this was happening. So I did a research, that was a survey, and then I decided to specialize to know more about their challenges. So after my bachelor's of science degree, I went into my master's. So I did a master's of philosophy in aquaculture and environment to understand more. And for that, I studied water quality dynamics and how it affects fish farming.
In which year are we talking about?
So I completed my bachelor's in 2019, and my MPhil I completed this year.
Hey,
yeah.
Small in size, big in book knowledge. Small in size, big in book knowledge. It is not easy. Oh. Hey. Right, so let's come to you, Esther. Tell me about your educational background. Which university did you go and what did you specialize in?
Okay, I attended Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. That's the best university in Africa. And then I studied natural resources management. But in tech, when you are in third year, you specialize in different departments. So I find myself to be part of the fisheries and watershed management class, and I completed just 2021.
Oh, okay,
So
2 years ago.
Yes, please.
Okay, all right. But what was the interest? What was the desire that made you to specialize when you were getting closer to that time of specialization? Why did you settle on aquaculture or fishing?
Okay, natural resources. When you are in first year, second year, they take you through all the departments. You do introduction to all the departments that they have. They have the agroforestry, they have the fisheries and watershed management. Then they have the silviculture, that's the forestry aspect, and they have wood science and technology. So when we passed through the introduction courses, I realized that fishing and aquaculture was becoming my passion to be into, and it's something that when you find yourself in a confined area on optimum temperatures and some optimum weather conditions, you can do a little at your backyard and everywhere you find yourself.
Right.
Although I'm from the farming background, so I know a little about the agroforestry aspect by joining the maize production and other stuff. I can be, so I wanted to divert to a different aspect that I know nothing about. So I have that passion to be in the fisheries department. That's why I joined.
Okay, that's pretty reasonable. Now, Sadem, in Ghana, we know that the fishery or the aquaculture sector is male dominated. Now, during your internship at Akosombo in the farm you mentioned, what did you discover about this sector in Ghana?
Okay, so I realized that majority of the food that the community eats, especially the fish, came from the farms there. Okay, so most of the fish that was being produced there, the people there relied on the fish from there. And I also noticed that most of their income was being spent on purchasing fish feed. Okay, and then I also realized that they had a lot of issues with water quality, and mainly to what, as you've already mentioned, it was dominated by the male. Okay. And I was the only female on the farm, and yes, so that was the main things I noticed on the farm.
Is fish farming an expensive business?
Yes, it is, because most of the feed that they get they are mostly imported from outside the country, and we know we have a lot of issues with taxes and things, so most of their money going into purchasing this feed. And if we don't have the feed, you can't feed your fish, they can't grow into the preferable size that you would want to sell them. So it's essential that you get the fish feed. And even when it comes to water quality too, it's also expensive, because our probes are very expensive. The multi-parameter probe like this, it's expensive. So if you want to go into fish farming, you have to think about where you acquire the land from, your source of water, your markets, then the fish feed, then the fingerlings. Where are you going to get the fingerlings from? They need to be purchased. And then I think some of them can be 30 pesos, some of them can be 50 pesos, and you need about 1,000, 2,000, depending on the scale of your farm. So all this needs to be considered. So if you want to go into intensive aquaculture, if you want to go into extensive aquaculture, all this needs to be considered, and it's part of the reasons why it's very expensive.
Okay. Did you do your attachments in any other farm before this one? This is your first farm. Okay. From what you have studied or the training you are being given here, during your study in the university, how many women were in your class?
Okay, so during my time, the fisheries were about 30, and I think the ladies were about 10. So the guys...
30 in the class?
Yes.
But there are just 10 women, and the 20 were men. Okay. So in this case, what can we do to increase women participation in fish farming?
So there is this perception that the hard work are normally dominated by the men. But there is no doubt that what a woman can also do with the passionate of caring and other stuff, you can also handle some stuff.
Right.
And it's not basically that you, the woman or the lady, will do the hard work. When you have a farm, for example, this is owned by a woman, it doesn't mean that the woman should take everything by herself, or anything that she will do will be only by herself. But you can also employ the graduates and other staff to help you. We have something we call labor. Okay. When you are planning to go into aquaculture, you have to put all those things into consideration before you start out. So you have to know that you have to get some people to help you. So your labor source, where are you going to find? You have to figure out those things in it, so that when you start, you will not feel like, hey, this thing, I can't do it on my own. But you have someone to help you then that one will be a better thing for us to improve the woman to also join. Because looking at Ghana here, not everything that you focus on the government. You have to do something to survive. Okay. So if you are a lady out there looking for something to do, you've earned a BSc in fishery, you've earned a BSc in aquaculture, doesn't mean you should be stagnant over there. Okay. You can try to do something with the help of people. Right. I think we can move somewhere.
When it comes to fishing or aquaculture, how many types do we have? You were mentioning inland, on boats and all that. What and what do we have? Okay. The areas or the types.
So we have the offshore. That's the one coming from the wild. Okay. And from the coastal areas. Then we have the inland ones. And then the inland ones, you can come to the aquaculture aspects, where we have the ponds, the cages, and then what again? The tanks. Okay. And then we have the tanks. We have different types of them. whether you go by a cement or a concrete tank, or you go by a glass or plastic tank. So we have different types of.
So all the types you mentioned, which ones are common?
In Ghana here, I can say the pond are very common, and then the tanks.
And which one is less expensive?
Okay, with you assessing your land, the most less expensive, the cheap one I should say, is the pond.
Okay.
That you can dig on your farm.
Right.
But you see, we have different types of soils.
Okay.
And these soils will have its implication.
Okay.
So you going for pond production, maybe your land is not suitable for pond. It cannot hold water. One, the chemicals in the soil too. Let's say your acidity and the alkalinity of your soil too can determine. So it makes it some way, but you can do a pond and then lining them like what we've done.
Right, with the poly bag.
Yes,
Okay.
then we have the tapori one. Like, yes, so you can do those ones there. And then if you want it in your small way, not for commercial, you
Purposes.
can use the plastic one like the malt tank. That
Okay.
white. Yes, you can use that one in your small way for yourself. Because looking at our food, our daily diet, fish has about 60 to 70% protein.
Yeah.
And that is very essential for human
Yeah.
health. So if you do something small in your backyard, it will help you. So going in for those things will also help you.
Okay. Sadem, let me come to you. So when you study or through your observation, the fish farms that we have, the inland one, from your observation, do we have it on large quantity, I mean on commercial base or small,
Okay.
or on small scale?
Okay, we have small scale, we have medium scale, and we have large scale.
What's the difference?
Okay, so a small scale will be, I think it depends on their quantity they produce and then how intensive their production system is.
Okay.
So for instance, there's something we call recirculatory aquaculture system.
Right.
That's when water is reused in the system and then waste is being biofiltered down there. So for someone running that system, he needs electricity to run that, and he needs to always be attentive to the system. So for that, we say it's an intensive aquaculture system, so he has to put a lot into it. And then how much he also produces, so the tonnages. If for instance somebody is producing 1 kilo, somebody is producing 1,000 kilos, and somebody is producing 10,000 kilos, you can say the 1 kilo farmer is a small scale aquaculture person, and then the 1,000 is a medium scale, and then the 10,000 be a large scale.
Okay.
The numbers go more than that, but I'm just trying to give a scenario.
Yes, of course.
So, and it also depends on the system. So a pond system can be a small scale or an extensive aquaculture system. You don't do much. Everything, they depend on the how do you call it, the outside temperature, the ambient temperature, outside temperature of everything. They depend on the weather for heat, they depend on when it rains, everything. It changes the water. But for the recirculatory aquaculture system, all that is done by the farmer. He has to regulate that the temperature is okay for the fish, the oxygen is okay for the fish, everything is done. So that will be much more intensive than the extensive system, which is the pond. So there's a range.
All right.
Yeah.
Then again, the challenges that farmers encounter on day-to-day operations, activities in the farm. What are some of these challenges that you have realized since you started working with farms outside school?
Okay. So for instance, today there was an issue with the electricity.
Okay.
And the main thing they produce here are fingerlings.
Right.
Okay, so we have fishes as small as 0.7 grams to 1 grams.
Okay.
And they need oxygen when their oxygen is low, otherwise they will die. They don't have that, they can't,
strength.
Yeah, they can't deal with stress. So today when we came, electricity was not working. There was a problem with the generator. ECG, we called them, they said they haven't started work. So all the fishes were at the top. And this farmer has spent about...
They were afloat?
Yeah, I mean, they were up there. When they want oxygen, they come
They
to the
come
surface,
up. Okay.
surface of the water. That's how you know they are stressed
Right.
and they want oxygen. So, and the farmer has put a lot into getting the fish hatched to that stage. His feed, his money, everything is in that. And it's going to be lost because there's no electricity. So that was a problem today until the electricity got fixed a couple of hours ago. Thankfully, the fishes were not dead, but sometimes we'll not know until after 8 days.
Okay.
Because some of them can, sometimes when the stress happens, you don't realize after a couple of days have passed before they start to die.
Right.
So I think...
Okay, so they don't die immediately?
Some of them don't die immediately.
Okay.
Some of them after some days, then they die. And then I think the other one is what I've already mentioned, the feed. The feed is very expensive. Sometimes I visited a farm and getting to the end of the month, they feed, in the beginning of the month, they feed their fishes like twice a day.
Okay.
But getting to the end of the month, then they do it once. And then the feed too is not, if they're supposed to feed the fish like 1 kilo, they'll ration it to maybe
half.
0.5,
okay.
Exactly. So it's the feed. So they wait until salaries come, then they get a new shipment of feed. So the feed is a problem. For the small scale and the medium scale farmers, they can't afford the feed. So it's also a problem. And then I would say the third thing, the main thing to me, what I'm passionate about is water quality.
Okay.
We visited some ponds a couple of weeks ago, and then they had issues with salinity and pH. When I say salinity, it's how much salt is in the water.
Okay.
So tilapia has a range that they can grow in. But the farmer was having as high as 25 ppt.
Didn't he know?
Because he doesn't have a water quality probe. And you
Doesn't
need
he have any expert on the farm?
No.
Okay.
So most of the times when they start their farm business, they just get somebody who is in the neighborhood that can, they think it's all about the security.
Right.
Just watch the pond, make sure nobody comes to steal the fish. And the people don't know that.
So it's not about someone watching your pond or having money and calling someone, please, I want to do, so
yes.
The typical thing, I want to do fish farming.
Yeah.
Can you get someone to do the pond for me?
Exactly.
It goes beyond having ponds.
Yes, it does. So he didn't know, and his oxygen was so high as 12 milligram per liter, and it was in the afternoon. He was aerating his pond. When oxygen is high, you are not supposed to aerate. Number one, you're wasting your electricity, and number two, it's not necessary.
Okay.
So he was supposed to switch off his aerator, but he had no idea. We got there and we prompted the man there that you're wasting electricity, switch off your aerator. Before the man said, oh, okay. So in the afternoon, we are not supposed to pump. I said, no. It is when if you have a probe, he said no. If you had a probe, you will know that oxygen is too high, let's not aerate. But if the oxygen is below 3 milligram per liter, let's aerate. You see, so most of the farmers don't know. And when the man came here, we're talking about, I tried to convince him to get a water quality probe. He said, I asked the last time, they said $7,000. I don't have $7,000. Wow. Yes, the multi-parameter probe is extremely expensive. So most farmers don't know. If their fishes start dying, then they start to blame the hatchery, the one who supplied the feed. They start to blame the feed, your feed is no good.
Right.
But most of the times they ignore the water quality aspect.
Okay.
Most of that is the fish's environment. That is where they will grow. That's where they will live until you harvest. So you need to make sure the environment is optimum for them to survive and grow.
Right.
You see, so but they don't know that. So I'm passionate about water quality and then fish diseases.
Right.
So yeah, that's what I would say. Okay, fish diseases is another one. Sorry. I think on the lake they had a lot of issues with streptococcus
they had a lot of
issues with streptococcus.
Streptococcus.
Yes, it's a disease that affects.
University people will not kill me today.
So
Streptococcus.
So the farmers had a lot of issues with that, and most of them closed up shop. I think it started. Okay, I don't know when it really started, but most of the farms started closing up during the time I was doing my BSc final thesis. That was 2018-2019. Right. So most of the farms I used to visit for data, most of them have closed down now because of the streptococcus. Some people to say lake virus, tilapia lake virus. So diseases is another thing.
Okay. Yeah. Esther, fish farming can create a lot of jobs for young people in this country.
Yes.
But looking or listening to what Sedem is saying, from the challenges, the lack of expertise, and also lack of funding and many other things that comes along with this profession or vocation, what do you think we should do? Do we need more human capital, more human resource in the area to equip farmers and to help them scale up? Or what do you think we should do from an expert point of view? Because now you're an expert.
Okay. It will be better that you just don't get up and say, I'm going into aquaculture, I'm going to fish, or I'm going to have a fish farm. First, you have to look out for your expertise. so that they can help you with this, and then your equipment that you need. That probe, it's also very essential for you to get before you start, because we cannot go into it and having issues and you start blaming those who do the hatchery, give you the finger lens for you to use. It can maybe be the transport when they were sending it from that farm, the distance between that particular farm that you are, or if maybe you are in a pond, as I said earlier, it may be a challenges with your soil that is creating that, or your water source is creating a different perception for the fish to die or having issues with your farm. So I would suggest that the expertise are there, because day in and day out, universities and then some colleges are training out aquaculture students and fishery students. So they are there, but it's just that we've not acknowledged them. So it's better.
Is it farmers, or is it farmers who have not acknowledged your existence, or it is government, or it is who should acknowledge you people?
Okay, one, the farmers should acknowledge the expertise, that they are there. Find out whom should I go, and I think the government too should also invest in aquaculture. Yes, because we have the fishery aspect. They are turning to the onshore, going to the sea to take data from there, but there have been a less view on the aquaculture aspect. So I think they should concentrate also on the aquaculture, so that it will improve and energize the youth to also go into it in order to improve the drain. And there is this decrease in that fishery sector, so that the aquaculture will help push out. Yes, so that we get what we require for a year in the fishery sector. I think the aquaculture will help, so they should acknowledge us, both the government and the farmers, so that we will do our best to improve our food security and then promote our fishery sector to the next level, in order to help us get the food, the nutrients that we need in our very diet.
Okay, so viewers, you're still watching the Ghanaian Farmer. My name is Enyonam. Today our focus is on how do we increase the number of female in the fisheries or aquaculture sector. And I'm having a conversation with two brilliant, hard-working, passionate young women who have just finished their degrees in respective backgrounds, and they are actually working with Flowcell, one of the biggest commercial fish farms in the Volta region. And they are telling us about the experiences, education in the classroom versus reality in the sector. They've shared the common challenges, how stakeholders can acknowledge their existence, collaborate with them for us to produce more and meet the demand of the public. I've also learned about diseases, and of course, I have learned that it is not about having the resources and establishing or creating a pond. It goes beyond that. You need an expert. If you're planning to go into fish farm, henceforth, make a budget for an expert. If the person will not be there as a permanent worker, it could be weekly, it could be monthly, or twice in a month. Let the person come by and check on what is happening. Now, I know that a few weeks ago, Flowcell had rolled out or advertised for young people who want to get extra training in aquaculture to actually register for that training. Are you two beneficiaries of that training?
Yes.
Okay, so when did you arrive?
Okay, so I arrived first week in February.
Is it the same with you too?
No, please.
Okay, when did you arrive?
I arrived on the 25th of February.
Okay, so tell me, what are some of the programs or courses that you are being taken through? Is it the same thing you did in the classroom?
No.
Okay.
Yes, because I've never been on how to transport fish. It was my first time doing it here on Flowcell.
Okay.
And the harvesting of the eggs and the fries too was my first time doing it here. And what I really liked was the case study. The fact that we visited two farmers who had no idea about what was going on with their farm or their fishes, and we diagnosed the problem. We took water quality parameters, and we researched, did the necessary literature, we did some couple of experiments. Then after we got the results, the important thing was that we called the farmer back and represented our results. Most of the time when research is done at the universities, we publish it online. The farmers don't have internet, or they will not even have the time
You cannot worry
to
that
go on the
English.
website exactly
Right.
to download the paper.
Uh-huh.
But here we presented directly to the farmer, and he was very happy.
Okay.
He thanked us a lot, and it made me feel like I was contributing to something, and I loved that. So
Esther, what would you say from what you have 25th up until now? How would you describe your stay and the training you are being given here?
Yeah, I would say it has been a very interesting training as we arrived. As my sister was saying, we've learned a lot in school, but the practical aspect is what we need.
You are lacking in the school.
Yes.
Okay.
You know, although we have some there, but it's not much into commercial and stuff, so we don't get the necessary training that you need. So this was a platform, or it has become a very interesting thing for me to learn the practical aspects by transporting and then holding the fish by myself, not in classroom, seeing the reality, what is going on, you get it?
Right.
So we are seeing everything rare here.
Okay.
So it has been an interesting since I came.
Okay.
And now I know what to do if I should go into it.
Okay.
Although we've learned it, that you have to get this, you have to look out this, where your market is, it far. We've done all those things in classroom, but this is the reality.
The experience,
the field,
the
is
reality
It's
has given you a lot more. It's been an
Yes.
eye-opener, if I should
Yes.
say. Okay, so finally, is this field, if I should go to school today, I'm a PR person. If I should go back to university, I want to study your line, of course. Is it a profession that when I come back, I'll get employed and get a good pay? Does it pay well?
There is a saying that the money comes from the bush. So if you do it and you do it well, it pays a lot.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
As you are contributing to, it's also another part
Right.
of showing how you are like contributing to the nation, and then also employing some people who also make you feel like, yes, I've done my God part.
Okay.
So it's very interesting if you want to go into aquaculture or any other agriculture sector that will help you improve and then add to a nation or add to a community. I think it's a fantastic job to do.
Fantastic job to do.
Can I add to
Esther
what you said
Enim,
about
of
the
course,
time?
and your last words would be, what you have to tell young women who are still maybe first year in the university or are now completing SS, will be going to the university. What would you tell them? Why should I be eyeing the aquaculture sector to study something around them? Why?
Okay, first of all, I'd want to say that aquaculture is not just about take the fish, grow it in the water. No, we have several branches of aquaculture. We have feed production. People mainly go into study aquaculture to learn the feed aspect. We have aquaculture economics. We have water quality management. We have the processing. After the fish has been harvested, some people fillet it, and there's money in the industry.
Really?
Yeah, in that is people are making so much money just cutting fish, processing it, and then importing. Where do your sardines come from? Where do your mackerels come from? They take the fish from the sea, then they cut it and they do. So fisheries and aquaculture goes beyond just fish, holding fish. Everybody thinks you'll be walking around smelling like fish. As I'm sitting here, do you smell fish on me?
No.
So aquaculture is more than that. You can still have your beauty, you can still do your nails, you can still apply your makeup and be an aquaculture farmer.
I know, right?
So that's what I want to say. Like,
Okay.
you can be beautiful in aquaculture.
All right. You can be beautiful in aquaculture. Such an insightful conversation. I wish I can actually go on and on, but my director, as usual, he's giving me facial expressions. It means your time is up. Your time is up. But I am so grateful and happy that these young women are very, very passionate about farming. They know there is money here. There is money in the bush. Oh. You have no idea. The bush allowance plus the money itself. There is money in agriculture. If you haven't made up your mind yet, you want to find a niche for yourself, being it starting from the education or you want to start the vocation itself, just get an expert advice. This is the Ghanaian Farmer. My name is Enyonam. If you're watching, please subscribe. If you have any further questions or clarifications, just get interactive on our social media platform, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube, the Ghanaian Farmer. Please subscribe. Share the link. And for now, it's a goodbye for us from Flow Cell If you want more information, just get in touch with us. Thank you, ladies. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, Staki. Thank you for sticking with us.
For
We'll
also
show you
coming
plenty fish.
around.